Good morning, good afternoon, good night, good day. Whenever you are listening, this is Six Rings and Football Things, Cadlick's Crucial Clashes Edition, Week 8, as the Patriots bounce back or turn the page from their best win of the season, the comeback effort against the Buffalo Bills at home, to
Yep.
look forward
We
to
can,
this.
Andy, we can call them the crucial clashes now because they won a game.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
not the patty cake anymore. It's not,
That's
oh, does
right.
it matter? No, it worked. It was the matchups and they won a football game.
And I would argue this Sunday's trip to Miami to take on the Dolphins might be the most crucial team clash of the season, maybe the most crucial in Mac Jones' young career. And I know we've said that a lot this year as sort of the ebbs and flows of his benchings and poor play. But as I wrote on weei.com this week, it's one thing to finally get that game where you had the comeback, you beat a good quarterback, all of that. It's all true. It's all great. We hadn't seen it. We've seen it. That's good. Now do it again. And as Mac
Right.
Jones said, consistency is the word this week because anybody in the NFL can have a one-off great game, an upset. There was no pressure. Most people thought, the Patriots were an 8.5-point underdog at home. Oh, the Bills are going to come in and do what the Bills do against the Patriots. They
Yep.
didn't. Now you face as extreme a challenge, or maybe more so, heading to Miami, the Heat. You are a 9.5-point underdog against the Dolphins. Tua doesn't lose to the Patriots. That offense is
It's crazy that
rolling.
he doesn't lose to this team.
It's weird. We can get
Yeah.
into that maybe. But I think this is a huge week. Like, if you want to be taken seriously, forget about playoffs and division, but you just want to be taken seriously. And it's like, oh, maybe they have improved. Maybe they are building something for the second half of the season. You got to go down there and at least fight the good fight. This can't be Dallas. This can't be the Saints. This can't be some undressing where Tua, goes 16 of 17 in the first half and builds some early lead. So I think this is an interesting matchup on that level. We
Yeah.
know historically Miami is a tough place for the Patriots, weather, whatever it may be. I know there were some reports you guys were talking about. They're practicing in long sleeves and hoodies and, trying to sweat it out, I guess, to get ready.
Get used to it.
So let's just off the bat. Do you think this team is in a good state of mind, state of being? I thought it was interesting Wednesday at Gillette Stadium, the press conferences. There was definitely an upbeat nature to it. Now, it helped that there were a lot of questions about the Halloween party the day before and
Yeah.
costumes and space and Star Wars. But I got to say it. I think Mac Jones, and I'm not the biggest Mac Jones fan. I'm
Right.
not his buddy like Dan Orlovsky. I don't text him every night to check in and say goodnight before bed.
Are you tucked in?
Right. Like, I don't do that. Okay, Orlovsky, I can't take you seriously anymore when you talk Mac Jones, but that's a different topic for a different day. I like the way he's carried himself over this 7-week stretch. And even this week, he doesn't seem too high. He doesn't seem like, oh my God, I'm awesome now. Because I played well, I can be cocky. I feel like Mac has remained even keeled. So where do you think this team's kind of aura, direction, mentality is right now?
So I 100% agree with you on Mac. I think when he says, I don't listen to the noise, I think he actually means it. And a lot of people say it, but you catch them liking a tweet here and there. You see them
Right.
retweet something or they repost 10 things on their Instagram story. It's like, well, you are online, but
Right.
I don't think Mac Jones really buys into it. I think he truly, tones it out and says, this is my job and I'm just going to do what I know how to do. And he talks about it every week, the process, and I'm going to do it how I'm taught and how I know it can work. And last week it worked. And I think that's why you saw that that NBC Sports camera guys video of everybody all over Mac Jones after the game. Like, he comes in, he gets his work done, he speaks it, and he tries to speak it into existence, and it finally actually happened for all of them. So the talks and reports of, Mac maybe not having support in the locker room, I find it hard to believe because I think they rally around that guy. I think they like him, and what he displays on the outside to us is not how he acts inside the locker room with them when the doors are closed. I mean, I don't see how that would be the case. And I think you're right. I think he has a good attitude about it all. Like, right now, he's not too high. He's back to work. We got to focus on Miami, and I think that's a good thing. And I think when you talk about the aura of the team in general, they saw one go through the hoop last week. They know they can win, and they know they can win in that fashion. we talked about it, me, you, and Fitzy on the post-game show. There was no caveats. There was no, oh, but this happened. Oh, but that happened. That was a straight up good win, good football performance against a good football team. And I read your column yesterday on weei.com about the Belichick thing, and good job. Now go do it again. And I actually went back and I read that New York Post thing from him. That was pretty awesome. I'd never seen that before.
Yep.
That's cool stuff. You should check it out on our website, and you can follow along as well with what we're talking about. But great job. They did it. They know they can do it. There's that confidence in the room now that they can do it, and now they got to go do it again. And I think, and I'll get off my soapbox here in a second, but we talk about like must wins in football, and last week against Buffalo was not a must win because they had lost all their must wins up to that point. But now they're 2-5. Now, if they get this one done, they have games against the Giants and the Commanders and an easier schedule. And then they can sort of get cooking if they can somehow get to 500. And I know they have to take it one game at a time, but talking about must wins, I think they have one again this weekend in Miami. If they can get it done, they can go on a run here.
Yeah, I think this is so, talking about 500, you win this, I think you get to 500 in a sense that you kind of equal out the Saints Cowboys game. Like those were horrifically bad.
Right.
This is 2 good wins. Okay, now we're even. Now we have some winnable games on the horizon. I'm not saying you're going to make the playoffs, but you're bringing sort of stability and credibility to just who you are as a football team on October 31st, as opposed to September 31st or whatever, wherever you were in your development. And then from Mac's perspective, I never bought into, and I think I keep saying this, I'm pretty sure here in the sort of Six Rings world and feed, we've done a good job of not buying into the narrative that Mac had lost the team, lost the locker room.
Right.
I think probably his teammates, if you really like truth serum injected them, probably are a lot like some of the outside supporters. Like they think Mac works hard. They think he has a process. They think he has a decent attitude. Maybe they doubt sometimes, like, can he get me the ball when he needs to get me the ball? Like on the field, like the actual production. And that's normal, right? Like I'll go back to the Raiders game, the throw he missed on the first drive, I think, to Hunter Henry, like a third down throw. I'm sure Hunter Henry, somewhere deep down, he loves Mac, is thinking, you can't miss me on that, Mac. You got to get like, you got to.
Are you talking about the interception or another drive?
No, the one
because the interception is the same way. There's the interception one too. Like he's wide open there. Yeah, same.
And it's not, I hate Mac. It's like, damn it, Mac, you need to get that to me, kind of thing, like natural. So, but I think it was good for everyone to get the win. Good for Mac felt great, like the smile during those post-game congratulations and the interview with Evan Washburn, the whole thing. Like Mac was feeling good. But again, you lose by 2 scores in Miami. It doesn't matter. Everybody will forget. That gets wiped out immediately. Like that's gone and buried. So I do think they're in a good perspective. We should touch on, before we get into the specifics, the health status situation sort of for both teams. Patriots shorter injury report, trending, I think, healthy, trending healthier than the Dolphins. The one I want to ask you about, because I don't think I'm stealing anything from the matchups you have, but Trent Brown, is he healthy? Like, because we just get Mike Onwenu back. And I think we're like, oh, with that line, you look decent. And you kind of did the job. But if you lose Trent Brown, if he's not out there, or anybody, but Trent Brown's the one I want to ask about because he's been on the injury report 2 straight weeks, chest, then he left the game with an ankle injury, I believe.
Ankle and knee, I believe
so
it's listed as,
he's a big guy. And as I always say, people that weigh like 370, lower body injuries are a big deal because there's a lot of pressure and weight on those types of things that can hurt them. Do you have a concern about Trent Brown in this game?
Not really. I think the fact that he came back in the game is a positive because clearly they tested him and figured out that, okay, you can play if you can tolerate the pain. And I know, obviously, once swelling goes down and a few days go by, like things obviously change. But the fact that he was not a non-participant yesterday in practice and that he was limited tells me, okay, he's moving around, he's working through it. I think they're going to try and get him on the field. If they can't, and we can sort of get into the offensive line when we talk about our matchups even more in depth, but you're right. Like they finally got something to cook in there of Onwenu at right tackle. So I don't know if they would maybe bring in a Calvin Anderson. they brought in Vidarian Lowe on the left side for like 2 plays during the
No,
game when
thank you.
Trent was out, and it was immediate false start, 5-yard penalty. I think they ended up either going like 3 and out on the drive or whatever happened, and so they have something there. Ultimately, I think Trent is in like a decent mindset this season. I feel like sometimes he's been a roller coaster, and I think he would probably even admit to it that he's had ups and downs in his career. I think on those downswings of his career, he probably wouldn't have went back in the game like he did on Sunday. So the fact that I see him as in like a better, headspace, if you will, and sort of he's bought in right now, I think he's going to do what he can to try and play. So I would, as of right now on Thursday at 9 a.m., I would say I would expect Trent to play this weekend.
Rookie move there. Don't timestamp the podcast. It's a podcast. It's evergreen. We want
Yeah, you're
people
right.
could be anywhere in the world at any time on any day. Come on, Cadlick. Anyway, that brings us into Cadlick's crucial clashes for this big matchup with the Dolphins in Miami. So where are we starting off, Mike?
All right, let's talk about the old it's the featured image, it's the cover photo of the column on weei.com, and it is Mike McDaniel versus Bill Belichick. And not only Bill Belichick, but Belichick, Mayo, and little Belichick, Steve.
What's this 3-on-1 fight?
Yeah, and I think McDaniel might still have the upper hand. So obviously, a lot's been made of Belichick's job security over the last couple of weeks. I think it's sort of been hushed with the Rappaport report and the big win against Buffalo. I think there's sort of an understanding that, this is no longer Bill's job to lose. I think he's sort of in the driver's seat. But anyway, I think this matchup goes like above and beyond just the job security. I think you look at where Mike McDaniel is in his career, this sort of new age, new face offensive wizard who at one time I was not a Mike McDaniel guy. I thought it was kind of cheesy, if you will, and I didn't think players would buy into it. But as of right now, I think they are. He really knows what he's doing from an offensive perspective as far as, where the NFL is trending. And then I look at Bill Belichick, and McDaniel said it himself of the last time where he basically gave his flowers to Belichick and was like, it's this timeless defense. It's always, calculated and, on time, and they know what they're doing. And the way he said it was like, ever since the iPod, this defense has been the same, and like whatever. It was like, so talking about how timeless it is. And so I think it's a unique matchup from just that perspective where this, the new age offense versus Belichick's timeless defense. And it's not just Belichick, because you look at Mayo, who is everyone expects to be the next in line head coach. And even Steve, I think Steve gets a lot of flack for being sort of the son of Bill and handed the job and whatever. But I think Steve does a pretty good job. Like, this defense is good, and he has his hands in it just as much as Mayo does. So I'm looking at sort of how they defend. And the last time they did it, they used that 3 high safety look. They did also have Christian Gonzalez in there. He's not going to be here, so that changes things. But I'm looking at how the 3 defensive minds go against the 1 offensive wizard with the Dolphins this weekend.
And I think this is interesting in that it's not only generational, I think, not only offense and defense, not only generational, it's also sort of philosophical in the sense that, like, some people wake up and choose violence. I think McDaniels wakes up and chooses speed. I think Mike McDaniel
and weed.
Well, yes, that's true. But like, and the Patriots have historically not been a speed-based defense. They're more about versatility and strength. And there was a quote maybe last year where someone was asking Mayo about his linebackers, and he said, like, the fast guy might take, sort of a roundabout route, and the guy who's smarter and knows what he's doing takes a straight line, and they might get there at the same time. I'll take the guy who knows what he's doing and doesn't take any false steps. Whereas I think McDaniel might just say, give me the speed, and then I'll coach him up to get there in a straight line, and then I'll really win. Because, I mean, I think the Dolphins, I believe, have been credited with having the 3 fastest players in the NFL with Mostert, Waddle, and Hill. So I think this is an interesting matchup just sort of on, because I don't really love and trust the Patriots' speed and athleticism. I mean, I know John Jones, and we'll get into him in a minute, is fast, and they have some guys. I'm not saying they don't have anybody, but just sort of the core of Duggar, Peppers, Jelani Tavai, Juwan Bentley in the middle of the field, like 40% of your team right there in the middle of the field I think more often than not, you don't match up athletically with the Dolphins, whoever
Right.
the Dolphins players are. And I think that's an interesting matchup and could be a concern. We saw it last year, right? There
Right.
was the missed tackle. It was Duggar and Bentley that missed
Mhm.
the tackle on Waddle. He goes to the house. That was the difference in that football game. And I think that can happen at any time. And I do think now we'll get into the Tyreek Hill injury and whether he's available and maybe they have to turn to Waddle, but Waddle's not a bad second
Right.
option or fiddle or whatever.
He'd be a number one on probably 20 other teams. So like,
Right. Right. So I like the matchup and I'm not saying the matchup is all Dolphins here. I'm saying
well, they contained it. They contained it week
Yep.
2. Like
Yep.
Patriots have yet to let up a 100-yard receiver this season. So even with speed, even with, high quality receiver, I guess players in this league, they've still been able to handle it this season.
Yeah, so I think this is a fun, interesting matchup, and the ways in which your trio goes against their new guy. And I'm with you, by the way. I'm Mike McDaniel. Early on, I was like, I don't know if I like this guy. He seems like, but I've come to accept that it's not an act, that he's being genuinely himself. Like the
100%.
quirkiness, the whatever he portrays himself as is the modern version of Belichick, who I'm going to give him credit and say it's not an act. He's weird in his own way. Belichick, he's been weird forever. He does things his way. And I think Mike McDaniel is sort of the modern offensive version of that. And it's intriguing to see if this has legs, as you said, and how long this can go with them. Because right now they're rolling. They're putting up historic numbers. They have the talent, the whole thing. And the NFL has taken notice. If you notice, there's a lot more videos and marketing of sort of Mike McDaniel and what he is.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that's definitely a thing. But yeah, no, that's an interesting matchup. So the coaches matchup, what is your first on-field player versus player type matchup?
Yeah, so this one has a little bit of a caveat because it is Jonathan Jones, who we mentioned, and it is against Tyreek Hill, who Tyreek Hill did not practice on Wednesday for Miami with a hip injury. Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, talked about it on Wednesday and said that he basically alluded to the fact that we'll get Tyreek back at some point down the line. And so
Yeah, it didn't sound great.
Yeah, it was almost like when Troy Brown let it slip that Marcus Jones is done for the season earlier with us. And so
Right.
I don't know if Tyreek Hill's going to play. He's someone who I could see waking up today and being a full participant. Like he's just sort of a freaky athlete where it's like, okay, I'm healed and I'm good and let's go run 95 yards to the end zone. And so we'll see what happens. But if he does play, obviously Jonathan Jones has sort of been the Patriots. I don't want to call it a secret weapon because, the teams have won, but the Tyreek teams have won, but they've sort of kept him in check and they've done it a lot with Jonathan Jones. Some numbers for you. The last 5 times Tyreek Hill has played against Jonathan Jones, and these are his matchups against Jonathan Jones, was 2022 week 17. They targeted him twice, didn't complete a pass. Jones picked one off. Week 1, 4 targets, 2 completions, 28 yards. 2020, when he was with the Chiefs, 3 targets, 1 completion, 22 yards. 2019, 6 targets, 4 completions, 38 yards. In 2018, 1 target. So they've held him in check when they had John Jones on him. So they weren't able to do it in week 2 because Jonathan Jones was hurt. He hurt himself leading up to the game. They ended up being able to mitigate Tyreek Hill anyway, because again, they used that 3 high safety look that I've talked about that we saw. They had Christian Gonzalez on him as well. So they sort of have an answer for Tyreek Hill that not a lot of people and not a lot of defenses have. So I look at John Jones in that matchup and I want to see if they can do it again. The same goes, however, like we mentioned, for Jalen Waddle. So if Tyreek Hill is out, we can look at the matchup the same way. And Jalen Waddle is going to turn into their number 1. He's nursing an injury as well. It was a back injury he left last week's game with. So if they don't have both of them, then I'm chalking this up to a Patriots win. But I think Waddle's going to play. It makes it that much more difficult. But they'll defend Waddle the same way that they defend Hill again with Jonathan Jones. And I think it's a good matchup for the Patriots against this Dolphins defense that really not a lot of other teams have an answer for.
So certainly Jonathan Jones has been sort of the kryptonite for Tyreek Hill. He's done a really good job over the years. Now, Jonathan Jones has had his health issues all year.
Yep.
So I think that's something to kind of keep an eye on moving forward. But I will say the cornerback position, like there, you're talking about, could they be without Waddle and Hill, or at least one of them potentially? The Patriots cornerback position is actually getting deeper. Gonzalez is gone. That's unfortunate. Like, it would be fun to see, but you have Jonathan Jones now healthy. You have Jack Jones back. You have J.C. Jackson rounding back into Patriots.
He's been
J.C.
awesome.
Jackson, like he's becoming the LeGarrette Blount. Like, oh, it doesn't work elsewhere. He sulks. He quits on that team, and he comes back, and he's right back to what he does for you, kind of thing. So they have some depth there, and I would also say Miami doesn't really have. Now, Braxton Berrios could be an issue for them. Like the last couple of weeks, we've seen young tight ends, athletic tight ends, give the middle of the field problems for the Patriots, and Miami doesn't, to my knowledge, really have that.
Their starting tight end is Durham Smythe.
Yeah, who's the other guy?
So take with that what you will.
I don't know. Julian Hill, I'm not really familiar with.
Yeah, neither am I. The only one I know is Smythe.
And Mike McDaniel, good coach. Maybe he schemes something up. I'm sure he's seen what the tight ends have done against the Patriots and probably is looking to get some matchups for whoever his guys are that he feels comfortable in that area. And maybe it's the running backs. Maybe they use that in that sense a little bit to get some matchups they like. But yeah, on paper, certainly Tyreek Hill's the worst matchup in football. He's going to have 1,000. If he plays, he'll go over 1,000 yards in this game, or he should.
Right.
He's at 9, whatever, putting up ridiculous numbers. But Jonathan Jones has done the job. Maybe Tyreek Hill doesn't play. The one thing that would just scare me is Waddle's had a quiet year because he's in Tyreek Hill's shadow. Hill has been the guy. I just wonder, like, does he view this as like my opportunity to show I really am a number one? I mean, I'm a number two. Like his Jaylen Brown moment. Like, no. I'm a dude. I can do this. And have like a bee in his bonnet with something to prove. Would just be something I'd keep an eye on. I am a Waddle fan too. I've always liked him coming out of Alabama.
I hope it's not a Jaylen Brown Game 7 Eastern Conference Finals moment. Well, actually, I do if I'm rooting for the Patriots. But
listen, we're not taking pot shots at my guy Jaylen Brown on this podcast. I'll take a lot of things, but I'm not taking. Yeah, he's a good player too. Leave him alone.
He's a good player. It was one game, and they won. W's or W's.
Like we could get, the comparison's probably apt because against the Patriots, Tyreek Hill hasn't shown up the way Jason Tatum doesn't show up for many times in big games.
Hey, don't talk about my guy Jason Tatum like that. Come
on. Okay, so let's get into matchup number 3 for Cadillac's Crucial Clashes.
All right, you got it there again. Good job. You're getting the hang of the crucial.
I am. It only took me to the 8th week of the season to hit my stride.
Yeah. So this sort of dovetails into what we talked about earlier, and again, what you wrote about the whole, okay, good job, do it again. And it's the Patriots' offensive line against Miami's defensive front. So 2 weeks in a row now, Patriots going up against a very solid defensive front. Obviously, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Christian Wilkins, and even Zach Seiler has been a defensive tackle for Miami, who not really a big name, but he has 4 sacks on the season. He's been a run stuffer, a passing down threat as well. And this Patriots offensive line showed up last week. Showed up, bar none, no caveats, whatever. We talked about it. Mike Onwenu was at right tackle. Trent Brown was good. Even Sidy So was probably their worst at right guard. And, you can cover up a right guard. You can't cover up a right tackle. And I think they finally figured that out. We talked about it here since freaking training camp, probably, right? Put Mike Onwenu at right tackle. Yep. They finally listened. They finally went with it, and it worked. Mac Jones was in rhythm. He was able to throw not only to the second level, but the third level. He was able to, make reads. And he also, as much as he got the ball out quick, that's what he's talked about he likes to do. And so he had the time. He had the way to do it. And it was great. It was good. And, we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but it's Thursday. We have to move on just like they have to move on. So now go do it again. Hopefully they keep on Onwenu there. I don't see why they wouldn't. It worked. He should be on board. They should be on board. So if you go into this game with Trent, Strange, Andrews, Sal, and Mike Onwenu, hopefully you should be fine, but you got to prove it to me. Do it again against another good defensive front, 24 sacks for the Dolphins, just like the Bills were one of the league leaders on defensive fronts as well. So it's a challenge again. Can you do it again? That's what I'm looking for.
So yeah, this is it's a Dolphins defense that is top 10 in yards allowed, lower in points. Certainly the Bills game swayed that a little bit. They came up short in that matchup. They have, similar to the Bills actually last week, they have 24 sacks. It's spread out a little bit. They got 3 guys with 4 more
Yeah.
sacks. Like you got Van Winkle and guys up front that maybe aren't household names, or people aren't like, expecting them. Maybe they think Chubb from his, draft status, but it's a good front. Wilkins is a guy who likes to do the Judon celebration when he does it, sort of mock Judon when he plays the Patriots. So he's a guy you have to deal with. But to me, this isn't as much about the Dolphins as it is just the Patriots. It's just show up, do your job. Well, who are the 5? I know. I just assume Onwenu is going to be at right tackle. I know they have avoided talking about it. Clem, O'Brien, Bill, like whatever.
Bill said we'll give you the lineup on Sunday if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the Dolphins have no idea how to practice.
Yeah, right.
You're not telling them who's playing right tackle, I guess, whatever. I think the Dolphins would be quite happy if you don't put Mike Onwenu at right tackle this week. I think
exactly.
Victory for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Now, it was a little weird that we continue to have these like allusions to Bill talking to Onwenu about like where he's going to play. Like, I still don't truly understand why he has a say. Why why he has a say. B, why he wouldn't want to play right tackle, where I think he can make himself more money.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's a little weird, but whatever. But we've talked a little bit about this. You said it, going back to camp. Anytime the Patriots have been ruined, the line is part of the story, whether it's July 29th, August 7th, September, whatever. Like they've been a part. They've ruined practices. They've ruined reps and drills, and we've blogged about it. We've podcast about it the whole time. So the opposite is true. Just have a little stability so that maybe we can talk about other things. Maybe we can talk about Mac. Maybe we can talk about receivers and Demario Douglas getting open and all the maybe we can talk about how well are you blocking for Ramondre, and does he need to pick it up? And I think your only opportunity to do that is have Onwenu at right tackle and sort of get some continuity here. Now, to be fair, Scar won't be in the building. So I know some people were giving credit last week. Scar
fly him down to Miami.
Like bring him to Miami. Maybe that's like his gift for making it into the Hall of Fame. Like, oh wow, a trip to Miami this week. Coincidentally, hey, you want to come to the game and hang out with us on the sideline, kind of thing.
And what are you doing Thanksgiving weekend? You want to come to the Meadowlands?
Right. But no, I do think it all starts, it's cliche, it's boring. Gresh loves it. Fans don't. It's not fantasy football. Hell.
But it's so true.
It is. And in 10 years, it might not be. Once they go to flag football and all these fat guys are no longer part of the game, we won't be. But it's 2023. The offensive line matters. It's ruining seasons for other teams across the NFL. And maybe they've found some stability, and maybe that can be the first phase. The other thing is, we talk about Miami, like it just kind of came to me like conditioning, Cole Strange, fat guys in the sun, like, because I know they've rotated guys in Miami before. Like, I don't want them rotating. I want these 5 guys on the field. You said it.
Agree.
Freaking Lowe gets out there and bad things happen almost immediately.
Yeah.
Awful. Like,
yeah.
So I want these 5. I mean, maybe you could switch the rookie guards and I wouldn't care. But other than that, I want these guys out there.
I want Trent. I want the middle and the center. It's the same. I want Andrews. I want Trent, and I want Mike Onwenu. Jeez.
Right.
And then guards, if it's a mix of Strange and Sal and Mafi, then we'll take it. But keep the bookends the same. Yeah.
It's not. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree, but it's not great that you're lumping your first round pick into your late round picks as just interchangeable guards up front. That's not ideal. But okay,
that's what happens when you draft a guard at the 29th pick. Sorry.
Well, I mean, he could have been Logan Mankins. Logan Mankins worked out pretty well. He was really good.
But yeah, this is a conversation for another day.
It is. So you have the coaching matchup: McDaniel's modern genius versus Belichick, Mayo. Belichick, old school genius, I guess we'll say, on that side of the ball. You have Patriots developing depth in the secondary to deal with the developing lack of depth of weapons potentially for the Dolphins, or maybe just a really scary matchup against Hill and Waddle, and we'll see how that goes. And then up front, I think it all starts there with the Patriots offensive line setting the tone. So the line actually dropped. I think it started pre-line was like 12.5. It's down to 9.5, which is still a pretty big number in the NFL these days. Not a lot of respect being given to the Patriots coming off their win over the Bills. The Dolphins are among the best teams in football, a Super Bowl contender, high hopes, record-setting hopes. have the Patriots stabilize all of it. You put it in a blender, you press that little pulse button. What does Mike Cadlick
Vroom,
see
vroom,
happening?
vroom.
Yep.
All right. I think that coming off of last week, the Patriots do have some momentum. I think we will continue to see the offense click. I think that Miami coming off a loss is not good for the Patriots. It kind of reminds me of when they beat the Jets, and it was like, oh, okay, now they can go beat the Cowboys. But the Cowboys were coming off a loss, and they kind of took it to us. Having said that, we talk about the spread. I think the Patriots cover the spread. I think they put up a fight, but I do think the Dolphins win this one. I'm going to go with a final score of 28-24 Dolphins. It's tight. It's close. I don't think Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones continues to play well. I just think this Dolphins offense, even without Tyreek Hill, can put up enough points to win the game. But close one. Pats keep it close.
So if you're right, I like that they scored 20 plus points for the second straight week.
Yeah, but there's no moral victories anymore.
No moral victories. And the problem is that would have been an acceptable loss if you hadn't dug the 2-5 hole. Like you would have been like, okay, that's fine. It's in Miami. They're a good team. You fought the good fight. The problem is you can't fight good fights. You have to steal. Like if you're going to play meaningful football of any kind in November and December, you need to win pretty much everything.
You got to steal one like you just did last weekend.
Yeah, you got to steal them and then win the ones you're supposed to. So, but again, we start here on Six Rings and Football Things with entertain me. Don't fall on your face. Don't suck. Right. As Lou Merlone might say, just suck a little or don't suck at all, whatever. And that's a game that you present to me that I feel like probably would play out in a semi-entertaining fashion, even if you're disappointed. And I know I have some buddies. I think there are still people going down for the Miami trip that is very popular in New England. And I talked to him like last week, and it was like, I don't even kind of want to go. I think they're going to get embarrassed. And then they beat the Bills, and it's like, oh, maybe there's a shot. Maybe I'm a little more into this game. Maybe it's not just a vacation to Miami. Maybe it's still a game I'm going to see. And you predict a game. So I will send everybody else over to the Six Rings and Football Things preview podcast with Fitzy and myself, which you'll be a part of because you recorded a nice interview with Chris Mason from Mass Live. But there you have it. You have your matchups. You have our buddy Mike Cadlick predicting a hard-fought, close battle where the Patriots come up a little bit short.
Just a wee bit.
But you know, it happens. It's the National Football League. And if you feel good about Mac after the game, I think you may still feel good. If Mac doesn't fall on his face, if he doesn't wilt in the heat, if it's not the debacle in Dallas, then I think there still could be some positives to come from it. But this is another Six Rings and Football Things brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And join us again over on the Six Rings preview where we'll have our bets of the week. And you can see if I take the points, if I lay the points, what I do with my bet. And I'm feeling hot. I've been good this year. Been very good. Thank you. See you.
Bye, guys.